Today, let's talk about some words, and those words are I'm bored or I'm bored with. These are words that we hear quite often, and generally, as a rule, we're hearing them around functional exercises. So, exercises like squats, deadlifts, shoulder presses, chest presses. And yet, these movements or exercises are the very backbone of functional fitness. So what the heck is functional fitness? These are just exercise that mimic everyday movements. So they're exercises that allow you to do the things that you love and enjoy in life, as well as the mundane tasks that we need to do as well too. Now, this topic can be particularly important for us postmenopausal women because quite often when we dismiss an activity or an exercise as being bored, it could be the very activity that our body needs right now. Now, I've noticed this pattern with clients, and look, I've noticed it in myself as well too. So recently I was doing, it was either a squat or a deadlift or something. But what was happening is that I was rushing through it and I was thinking about what else I needed to do. So I wasn't fully engaged in that exercise itself. And so what I really want to explore is what could possibly be happening when we say these words, I'm bored with these essential movements and exercises. Because if we can start to delve into this a little bit more, we might learn to transform that experience of boredom into something much more meaningful. So let's dig in, shall we? So when my clients tell me they're bored, there's something really interesting that myself and my coaches have started to notice. We've noticed that their form is starting to deteriorate, that their range of motion may have decreased, that they're rushing through movements. And the most interesting thing is that you can see their mind thinking about other things. And this raises a question. Are they actually bored with the movement itself, or have they stopped engaging fully with the activity, the exercise? Now, it reminds me of one of my clients, Margaret, who said, look, I'm utterly bored with this. And so I said, well, let's play back this video and let's have a look at what's actually happening. So what can we notice? And, she noticed that she was barely lifting her arms up during this shoulder press, that her range of motion had declined. And so she was quite shocked when she actually re-looked at this video and could see what she was doing. And so once she started to focus on proper form and full range of motion again, she felt that the exercise was more challenging. And let's face it, she was more focused on it. She was more engaged with it. And that boredom that she was feeling completely vanished. And this is where science is really interesting. So when we perform movements mindlessly, the brain essentially goes on to autopilot. They're those things that we do without actually thinking about it. You're driving in the car and then all of a sudden you're where you needed to be and you think, oh, gee, I don't even remember getting there. So what's happening is that prefrontal cortex that's responsible for focus and attention, it's becoming less engaged. So this default mode that we have, those networks are being activated, which allow our mind to wander. And so really, is it any wonder that we start to feel bored because our brain isn't fully participating on what's going on. So what actually happens is sometimes this claiming that we're bored is often masking some complex realities. Those significant hormonal shifts that we have during menopause affect the neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are our brain's reward chemicals. And so research from the Monash University shows us that these changes can make it harder to find some level of satisfaction in repetitive activities, even when those repetitive activities are beneficial to us. This is really fascinating stuff, right? So sometimes that I'm bored can actually be code for I'm frustrated that this feels harder than it used to feel, or I'm anxious about whether I'm doing this properly. So boredom can become this convenient shield against these vulnerable truths that might be there. Okay. So many of us have spent decades taking care of other people and their needs. And so this unfamiliar sensation of focusing on ourselves, like our movements, our bodies, our progress, can actually create quite a lot of discomfort, and it can often be mislabeled as boredom. So I like to call this thing the empty moment syndrome. So, it's that restless feeling that drives us to pick up the phone, turn on the telly, find something to do, anything to do when we've got a quiet moment. Okay. So have you been there? I know I have. And so we're conditioned to view this stillness or this repetition as somehow just totally wasteful or unproductive, when ironically, those boring moments that we have can be or create the most transformation for us when we start to peel back the onion layers, right? So why do these boring moments matter even more to us as we're getting wiser in our years? Because I think that these foundational exercises that we're talking about, they aren't just fitness activities. They are so powerful. They are things that our body needs, and it needs most in order to not just live well now, but live well in the future. So every boring squat or deadlift is literally building skeletal strength during a time when our body is naturally losing it. So according to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, 1 in 4 Australian women over the age of 50 has osteoporosis or osteopenia. Okay, so that consistent foundation work is our defense against this disease. So regular strength training helps moderate hormone fluctuations that can make life challenging at this stage. It helps improve our sleep. It helps stabilize moods and builds up some level of resilience for us. So these mind-muscle connections that are required for proper form exercises stimulates those neural pathways, which support our brain health exactly when it's needed most. So I would encourage you, don't run a million miles away from a squat or a deadlift or a shoulder press. If your body is able to do it, think about it. Each shoulder press or each one of these exercises that you're doing, you're banking functional ability for decades ahead. So they're not just exercises, they're deposits into your future independence account. That's pretty special, right? So think about it this way. When you say, I always think about it this way. If I say I'm bored with a squat, What I'm really saying to myself is I'm bored with sitting and standing. Okay, because this very movement pattern allows me to get up out of this chair and to sit down in this chair. Things like deadlifts, they help me pick up my grandkids off the floor or to pick up my cat or whatever it is that I need to get off the floor. It helps me get in and out of the car. It helps me go to the toilet. So life doesn't stop us from needing these functions just because we're bored with training with them, for them. We need to keep doing them. All right, so here's the thing, that we've got quite a number of years experience behind us, which therefore means that we're worlds ahead of younger exercises because we've lived a long life and we can appreciate these most valuable skills in life as being fundamental to what we need to do. And we know that prevention is so much better than rehabilitation. And we know that the quality of our movement that we have today predicts the quality of the life that we have tomorrow. And we probably think about tomorrows as well. So when you're thinking about saying, I'm bored, I want you to reframe it. I want you to ask yourself some questions. So what specifically am I feeling in my body right now? Can I bring more quality or more precision to this movement? What daily activities will benefit from me learning, practicing, mastering this exercise? And what am I able to do now that I couldn't do before I started this exercise? So here's the truth. The sensation that we call boredom is often an invitation to go deeper, to pay more attention, to discover the little things when we're being distracted by some type of novelty or some other thing that we think is more important than taking care of ourselves. So enough said about that. Let's talk about how you might overcome this I'm bored mindset. The first thing that I want to talk about is the reconnecting with your why. And we bang on about this all the time. So it's what is the deeper motivation for me to do these things, even if I am feeling bored? So it's not just about feeling stronger or fitter for life. It's about what am I able, why do I really want to do these things? You know, and I think about so many of our clients who want to travel solo around the world, or particularly go to Europe, where they want to be able to, you know, pick up their luggage. They want to climb up the cathedral stairs, do all types of things. Or maybe they're that person who wants to pick up their beloved pet or their grandchild off the floor, or they want to keep gardening like their mother and grandmother did, who were, you know, super fit in their 80s. And so they're thinking about, why is this important to me? And I think it's really important that you know what your personal why is, that you keep it visible during a workout, so that if that boredom factor actually strikes, you can pause and ask yourself, is this exercise supporting that bigger purpose, my why? And the answer is generally going to be yes. The second thing is, I love this one, it's micro challenges. Okay, and I've got a few little ideas for you for this. So these are just little challenges that you do whilst you're doing that particular exercise that in your head you might be feeling bored with, right? And I like the quality 5. So what you're doing is 5 quality repetitions where you focus on perfecting your form, you have complete focus on it, and you're doing full range of motion, and you're doing 5 reps. You will be surprised how satisfied you feel. I mean, this is one of my personal favorites. Okay, so it's just 5 reps. And when I get those 5 reps out, I go, gee, you're a rock star. Okay. The other thing is this sensory scan. So you could include that when you're doing an exercise. So during the actual repetition, you're focused on a part of your body. So if you think about a squat, you might be thinking about, oh, am I feeling my glutes as an example? And then maybe the next rep that you do, it's like, can I feel this in my hamstrings? Can I feel it in my quads? So what are the sensations that are there? Am I feeling tightness? Am I squeezing those muscles? Am I connected to those muscles? The other thing that I think is important, and one of the ones that I really like, is this breath match. So you're synchronizing your breath as you're perfecting that exercise or that movement. So one of the things that I can often notice, and I notice this with my grandson when he is practicing his exercises, that he holds his breath. Okay. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we've got the right breath with the lift and the lower, the concentric and the eccentric movements that we do. So what we want to do is, understand what happens in our body when we breathe better. When we connect with that exercise, it does feel a lot easier. So what happens is when we give ourselves these little micro challenges whilst we're doing an exercise, it activates that reward center in our brain that I was talking about earlier. And so what that does is creates this new interest in some type of familiar exercise that we're doing. So that's really awesome, right? The other thing is to change the context of it, so not the content. So what we're saying here is don't change the exercise, but change the context. So one of the things that one of my clients did, and this is just fantastic. I love it. So she works out at home, and so the environment itself wasn't that conducive. And so what she decided to do was she called it a strong woman sanctuary, right? So she put up photos of her mum and her grandmother who actually lived independently into their 90s. So she had photos up on the wall. She also put up these quotes and she put some plants in there as well too. So she changed the space, the environment that she was working in to be this sanctuary for herself. And she just felt so much better in that environment. Other context shifts could be rather than exercising inside your house, then exercise outside if the weather's great, right? It might be that you have a special playlist that you do. And I know I have a series of different playlists that depending on the mood that I'm in, I will play this music to get myself in the mood or to suit that mood if I'm feeling a little mellow as well too. So music can certainly be something that changes the context for us. So we're still doing the same exercise, but we're changing what we hear. The other thing is this pre-exercise ritual. So something you do that signals your brain that this is going to be an important time for you. So one of the things that I do is I walk in nature before I do a strength training session. That just sets me up. It gets me in the right mindset to do my workout when I'm ready to do that. And of course, the other thing that you hear all day, every day is get an accountability partner who understands, your specific why and where you are in life as well too. Because sometimes working out with someone who's, for example, in their 20s, they might not understand what it's like to be in your 60s and how your body responds to certain things as well too. So that's all part of, trying to overcome this I'm bored with this exercise type mindset. The other thing I think that is really, really important is this practice milestone acknowledgement. So get yourself a journal, and I know that I bang on about journals all the time, and call it the proof of progress journal. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down improvements. So one of the things that I like to do, particularly with anybody who's starting out, is to get a level of baseline. So where are you with these things? What can you do? What can't you do? What are you struggling with? And so what happens is over time, you'll start to then see in this book that you're starting to do something, that you've started to achieve something. It might be the first time that you bent down to do up your shoelaces in the last 6 months. It could be the first time that you managed to get out of a chair without putting your hands on the chair itself, or to use, a desk to pull yourself up. Or you might have noticed that you're starting to engage your core when you're sitting. The list goes on and on. You might find that you're picking up grocery bags a lot easier, or you're picking up the laundry basket easier. Or you might be noticing, geez, I'm sleeping better, or, oh, I feel less stressed, or my moods are better. So, or even, gee, I can balance a lot better. I'm feeling a lot more steady on my feet. So these are all great things that you can write down. But the other thing is that you can, in this proof of progress journal, you could do capacity photos. So these are not photos of your body, right? These are photos of things that you're doing that you love and enjoy. So let's say, for example, you're a gardener, and what you do is you take a photo of, a pot that you're picking up that's, got a plant in it, or maybe it's just got the soil in it. And then what you do over time is you take another photo, and maybe that pot that you picked up that very first time when you went to squat with that pot was about, yay big. And then what happened is that it got a lot bigger the next time. And you look at that in that diary and you go, oh, wow, look how much I've achieved over that period of time. So, but doing that particular exercise, that squat, that's helped me achieve that. So these are all things that help you continue to do these functional exercises that are so, so important to you. And I would really encourage you to embrace an identity shift. If you think about it, musicians don't get bored with doing their scales. Artists don't get bored with mixing paint colors, because they understand that these fundamentals are the foundation of their craft, right? And so the same thing can be said of exercises. What we're doing is that we're practicing our movements. So you might call it your movement practice or your move moment. It doesn't matter what you call it. It is up to you and what you're going to relate to. So one of the things that I loved a story from a nurse of ours that had retired, and she told me that she approaches her squats with the same way that she approached patient care. So she went with presence, with precision, and with purpose. And so she said what she's doing is she's practicing the art of aging magnificently. Don't you just love that? It's just brilliant. I love some of the stuff that my clients come up with. And I get to share it with you. So that's just, doubly better. All right. So when we reframe these foundational movements as a craft or something that we're mastering, then boredom becomes almost impossible, because we're approaching it as something that we're practicing as a lifetime movement that is worthy of our time it's worthy of our attention, and it's worthy of our care. A lot to take in, right? So I like to finish these up with a thing called move moments. So move moments are just tiny practices that you can add into daily life. And today, what I want to encourage you to do is to do the beginner's mind squat. Okay. So, and you've probably done squats a million times before, but you're going to approach it as if it was the very first time that you did it. So you're going to stand with your feet hip width apart, with your toes pointing slightly outward. What you're going to do is close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. And while your eyes are still closed, begin lowering yourself into that squat as if it was the very first time. I want you to move really slowly. I want you to think about, how are my ankles moving? Are they, flexing in and out? What's going on there? How are my knees tracking? Are they over my toes? What's happening? Are they getting the wobbles up? What's going on? I want you to think about when you come up, are you engaging your glutes? What's happening with your breath? Are you holding it or are you breathing? Now, I want you to just do 3 repetitions that way. So fully focused and eyes closed. And then what I want you to do is to open your eyes up and notice, were you bored or did you feel some type of sensation, and what type of information did you gather from this? So that simple practice can be applied to any foundational movement that you might be deeming as boring right now. You slow it down, you bring in more awareness, and boy, it changes so many things. Thanks for joining me today. What we've done is we have explored how to change boredom with foundational exercises to enable us to fully engage with them in a deeper way, to able to fully engage with ourselves on a much deeper level, to really uncover what we might truly be feeling and why we need to continue practicing these fundamental exercises so that we can continue to do all of those things in life that we love and enjoy. So your challenge this week is, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm bored with any type of exercise or movement, pause and ask yourself, what would happen if I approach this with a beginner's mindset? Thanks for joining me. I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.